You want to start with the good news or the bad news? Because there's a batch for both. Lathan Ransom, full practice today. We saw him walking off the field. He looked good. He's with the trainer, but he looked good. Ryan Day says he's going to play. Flip it over to the other side of the ball, Zen Mahalski. He's trending toward not playing. So the Buckeyes have got to figure out a third option at left tackle. That's the 41-year vet Tim May. He is unavailable for Saturday. He's not playing left tackle for the Buckeyes.
I'm just watching.
That's Andy Backstrom. I think he can play safety in a pinch if you asked him to for the Buckeyes, but I don't think they'll need him because Lathan Ransom looks like he's going to be good to go. I'm just Spencer Holbrook. Maybe give me a clipboard because that's all I can do at this point. Let's talk about it. Ohio State in high spirits tonight. I thought there was a lot of juice, a lot of energy coming off the practice field. We'll start there. The mindset of this team seems to be pretty locked in. I'm kind of over the reading the mindsets, Tim.
Yeah.
Because you just never know. It's college football, and these are 18 to 22-year-olds.
Yeah. How come these guys aren't yelling at each other?
Yeah.
But that BS.
I did think that there was some good energy here in the Woody on a Wednesday night.
Yeah, I did too. I mean, these guys. That's the thing. Even the coaching staff, you got to be resilient. As in, you got another game coming up. The last two games, they matter in terms of maybe what you accomplished. Maybe some mojo you might have created in the fourth quarter for yourself against Nebraska last week. You can say, well, what are they doing down to Nebraska in the fourth quarter? It doesn't matter. They were.
Yeah.
They had to have a drive offensively to win that game, and defensively they had to get a stop and make plays, and they did that. So those are kudo marks, Yeah. What happened before that? Who knows? But the bottom line is this is a big time. These were always the two games that were circled in red on this schedule were always at Oregon. They lose that one by 1 point, and at Penn State. And Ohio State is favored as we stand here right now to win that game. So everybody knows what's up, what's at stake. Ryan Day put it at point blank range the other day when he talked about basically the desire, and I'm just paraphrasing here, but the idea of getting to Indianapolis is kind of hanging on this game because you got to take care of the guys in your club, and that club basically includes Oregon, Indiana, Penn State, and Ohio State.
Correct. Lathan Ransom going to be back in the lineup, it appears right now. They're saying the right things. He says he's going to play. We have no reason to take him for anything else. I know people are skeptical when they hear Ryan Day give injury updates. I understand. We've been burned a couple of times by injury updates from Ohio State, but all signs point to him playing. That is absolutely massive for this club, Andy.
They have safety depth, though, which I think they could still rotate in guys if they need to. If he's not exactly 100%, I think that was important to get Jalen McClain playing, to get just all those guys back there. Jordan Hancock showing that he can play at deep safety if he needs to have Lorenzo Styles Jr. playing more nickel along with Jermaine Matthews. Mm-hmm. Saw the whole Rolodex there of those defensive backs. I think that was key. But yes, Lathan Ransom and Caleb Downs together, arguably one of the better safety tandems in the country. And I think, Lathan Ransom had some rough moments against Oregon, but he also had some good moments against Oregon. Remember the almost 2-point conversion he had with that heads-up play in the end zone there. So.
How many points did they lose by?
Right, 1 point.
Exactly,
that would have been the difference. But it's so easy. It's so easy with hindsight. But he's an important player, and I know with Caleb back there as well, it frees him up to do some more things. And they really trust Lathan Ransom in run defense, and so he's got to be on his game for that against Penn State that has those dynamic running backs and Nick Singleton and Katrin Allen. So I think they'll be fine at safety. I think left tackle, though, is probably where we're going to continue our conversation.
Yeah, left tackle is a different story for right now. So I was watching the Ohio State-Oregon game today. I was watching Penn State-Wisconsin today, and I noticed in both of those games, the left guard is the one who sticks his arm out for the silent count. So I came in here. We were allowed to ask Ryan Day questions, so I had to ask about it. Ryan, if Donovan has to slide out the left tackle, who does the silent count then? Because it's not something anybody really thinks about, but when you lose a left tackle and you're sliding your guard out the tackle, somebody has to give the cadence on the silent count to tell Seth McLaughlin they're ready. Who's that going to be? I don't know, because I really don't know who's playing left guard. I personally believe, and there's some conversations, I think it's going to be Donovan Jackson at left tackle, and then could be a few different options at left guard, whether that's Luke Montgomery, whether that's Austin Sareveld, whether that's Carson Hinsman, who I think has taken some guard reps this week. There are options here. The bottom line is I am growing cautiously a little more optimistic that I think this unit is going to be serviceable.
Okay.
Which I did not think it was on Saturday. I did not like what I saw from the unit on Saturday. I think it will be serviceable even against a good Penn State team Saturday if Donovan Jackson's playing left tackle, because Tim, again, it does not sound like Zen Mahalski's going to give it a go.
Yeah. Thing is, we're not going to know the answer.
For sure.
No, I'm just talking about we're not going to know the answer about how they play, this new group plays together until, halftime or maybe the end of the game, right?
Yeah.
So everybody keeps asking me, I don't know how they're going to play together. I know Austin Sareveld has played a tremendous amount of football already this year. I would think he has training at least in that poke, of the center to get the thing going, because he was playing for Donovan Jackson early in the season.
And then, I don't mean to cut you off, and then Carson Hinsman, if he's the left guard,
correct.
He played center last year. So,
yeah. So you're like me in the other previous videos. You're interrupting me about something I was fixing to get to. The thing about it is, Carson Hinsman started 12 games last year, right? He's played. He's played against Penn State. He's played in big games. So I would think we're going to see at least 2 guys in that realm on Saturday playing that left guard spot, just seeing who gets hot. Seeing who is actually responding to what's going on in front of them and who isn't, right? And then maybe Luke Montgomery, because, we got the indication last week with him going in there that they've liked kind of what they've seen from him in practice, because you don't just throw willy-nilly somebody out there and stuff. So I think this is, in some weird way, kind of a good thing for them, because I think some depth has developed in that spot for all kinds of reasons. But yeah, the poke is a big deal when at Penn State and Autzen Stadium, not so much in your own stadium where people are supposed to be pulling for you.
Yeah. Well, and here's the bottom line. We can talk about whether they're going to be good or bad. Nobody gives a rat's if they're good or bad, as long as they win this game. If they win the game and the offensive line looks terrible, okay, you've got to get through after this Purdue and Northwestern, and you kind of can use those 2 games as feelers to figure out an offensive line before you get to Indiana, Michigan, and then on to the Big Ten championship game if you get there. If the offensive line looks great, awesome. Then you're set for the rest of the year. You've got your starting 5. So nobody cares what this offensive line looks like, as long as you, like Tim likes to say, as long as you get the W, as Tim likes to say. So
fairly effective.
As long as this offensive line is serviceable, which is the term that I'm going to use all week until I see what happens here. As long as it's serviceable, I think Ohio State will be able to do some things offensively. You have to remember, Ohio State moved the ball with pretty good rhythm, efficiency, whatever you want to call it, against Oregon, which is, I think, just as decent of a defensive line as this, with Zen Mahalski at left tackle.
Correct.
So there is reason to not be Chicken Little, the sky is falling, for the entirety of this week. You can be that for most of the week, but there's got to be at least a hint of optimism that this unit could come together and be decent for this week.
They threw the football right in the second half. They did not run the ball very well, which was also a problem
Great
last
qualifier
week.
there.
Yeah, and look, the interesting thing about the silent count, if Carson Hinsman, let's say he's the option at guard, or at least for some of those snaps, he was the man that had to be, the anchor in the middle there of the silent count for 6 road games last year.
Yeah.
That was hard for a redshirt freshman playing center who didn't play any snaps his first year at Ohio State. He talked about it took him a while to get adjusted to the silent count. I'm sure he's much better conditioned to do that maybe than like an Austin Sareveld. So that's why he's so interesting in this equation, because we haven't really talked about him this year as much because he hasn't played much, but he could be a really interesting solution there. The other thing with Donovan Jackson is that I would imagine they practiced a good bit with him at left tackle during the off week. I mean, they would have been,
concerned.
They would have been not too smart to not try that out when you have 2 weeks leading up to the Nebraska game. I'm not saying this was their plan, but it could have been something where, if Zen was healthy, maybe they were building Donovan up to it anyway to take over at some point with this position. So you would hope that they got in the work during the off week with Donovan at that position. But the left guard position, I wouldn't rule out Carson Hinsman. If not this week, then maybe down the road.
Hey, it's all hands on deck on Saturday. I mean, you put your best 5 that you feel in your guts, your best 5 out there, and you live with the consequences.
Yep, absolutely. Kind of a shorter show, high energy show. The Buckeyes, again, I cannot stress this enough, that the mood in the room, I think, has been lifted. I don't think that it needed lifted, but I think there is a good buzz in this building today. Maybe even compared to yesterday. I didn't think it was as bad, maybe as some others did. But I'm not a mood reader. I don't have a mood ring on. I think that this team is ready to go. I think they know that they played poorly against Nebraska, but I think they also know they were 1 point from beating the number 1 team in the country on the road. So there's some reason for optimism, I think, tonight more than there has been the last couple weeks for Ohio State.
They're favored.
Yeah, I mean, the folks in the desert build skyscrapers, not shacks, and that's for a reason. They know what they're talking about. Ohio State is a favorite against Penn State. The 41-year vet Tim May, he's going to head over to Happy Valley this weekend, as well as Andy Backstrom and myself. We'll be in State College for Ohio State Penn State at noon on Fox. If you want to go to that game, go to gametime.co and use the GameTime app. The GameTime Picks feature lets you customize the way you see tickets. It is absolutely awesome. Oh, by the way, you get $20 off your first purchase when you use the code ON3. That's right, ON3 on your checkout for your first order, $20 off. They also do this thing, you buy a ticket in the GameTime app, find in the same row, a ticket in the same row, the same section, on a ticketing app that's not GameTime, send it into GameTime, they refund you 110% the difference, you're saving money. Left and right, hand over fist with the GameTime app, gametime.co, and the GameTime Picks feature. That's Tim May, that's Andy Backstrom, I'm Spencer Holbrook. We'll see you guys over in State College on Saturday for Ohio State. Penn State should be an absolutely rockin' atmosphere. We'll see you on Friday for Bold Predictions, where we give the score picks for that matchup.